Hi there, welcome back to the channel, Loving Life on Less. My name is Liz, my husband's name is David, and we talk about all things money saving and frugal living. Today's video is titled Extreme Money Saving Things That Only You Do. What actually inspired this particular video is a couple of evenings ago, I was looking back at an old forum for money saving that I used to go on quite a lot in 2006. And I was looking at some of the comments I had made back 17 years ago, and I can see that I was definitely on the verge of frugal living full time. And one of the threads that I was reading was really interesting, was what extreme money saving things do you do that no one else around you does? And there were some really enlightening, different, unusual answers. And I thought, some of them may have value today. Others of them are just fantastic to listen to. And you think some people are so ingenious of what they will do to save an extra penny or an extra dime. So that's what this video is. It's going to be 30 of their best or most unusual extreme frugal living tips. Extreme frugal living tip number 1. When walking up and down the stairs, you'll find if you walk in the same place all the time as most people do, right through the centre of the carpet, that's where the main wear and tear is going to be. To ensure that your carpet has equal wear and tear and can last longer, on your way up the stairs, walk up the left-hand side of the stairs, and on the way down the stairs, walk down the right-hand side of the stairs. Your carpets should last longer. Number 2. Little net bags that sometimes come with onions and lemons and such like in shops, save them because you can use them as body scrunchies, or you can also use them as pan scourers. Tip number 3. Most frugal people will want to use their product right to the end of a tube, so they'll cut off the top and use the product. However, once you've cut off the top, the product will start drying as the oxygen gets into it. If you just cut out the centre of your tube, like so. So you're cutting out the centrepiece. You've still got a top that you can put back on. I don't know if that's extreme because I've done that for quite a few years. But it was a bit of a reminder that some people just chop off their tubes and then dip fish into it. But to keep that little bit of top will keep your product lasting longer. Number 4. Don't always use the same hob ring. Make sure all your rings on your stove are used equally, so one of the surfaces doesn't wear out before the other. Tip number 5. If you're using a vacuum cleaner that still has the old-fashioned paper bags inside, when the paper bag's full, don't change them for a fresh bag. Take the bag outside and empty all the contents into the bin and replace the paper bag back into the hoover, so you are reusing your hoover bags. Tip number 6. I have been known to follow the postman up the street so I can collect the elastic bands that drop from his letters as he goes. And tip number 7. I've been known to nip outside with a bucket and a spade if a horse goes past and has dropped manure, and I collect the manure and use it in my garden. Tip number 8. If you've got a slither of soap left and it's too small to do anything with, cut open an old sponge, place a small slither of soap in the sponge, and then put water on the sponge and you'll be able to clean your body with it. The bubbles will come through the sponge and will use up all the soap. Children particularly like doing this, and it's a great way to use up slithers of soap. Tip number 9. When my washing machine broke beyond repair, my son used the glass front as for salad bowls and large mixing bowl, and he also took the inside metal drum and used it outside for burning old junk in, so he'd got a metal burning pit. Tip number 10. When my children come home with scuffed shoes, I always buy black shoes, and I also make sure I've always got a black marker pen because I cover the scuffs over with marker pen rather than have to buy new shoes or have them walking around looking scruffy. Number 11. I always save old coffee jars, or any jars in fact, but coffee jars are particularly good because they're tall enough to store used paintbrushes in when you're soaking them in turpentine to get them clean again. Number 12. I always buy whole milk and water it down by the same amount of water. It's just like buying semi-skimmed milk, apart from I get twice as much milk for my money. Number 13. When you have an old cereal box, cut it up into strips and use them as bookmarks. They can go in between all the pages in your cookery books of the foods you would like to do or plan on doing in the future without having to mark any of the pages or fold any of the corners back. Just a quick interruption. If you're liking our content, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And if you'd like a copy of our monthly email, it's a newsletter. It's got in it free frugal tips, recipes, ideas, occasional shout outs, maybe even the odd frugal jerk or two. But it's totally free, and if you'd like a copy of it, please email us at lovinglifeonless@yahoo.com and we'll make sure you get our first edition, which will be sent out at the beginning of February this year. Also, within the newsletters is access to more frugal living videos on the YouTube channel before they actually are generally released. Tip 14. No matter what I've got in the fridge, everything has a date on it, when it was opened. That way I know exactly how long it'll last. And tip 15. If you get a hole in your rubber gloves that you use for washing up around the house, save them. You can fix them with bicycle tyre repair kits. Tip 16. Put any crumbly or crushed up bits of cereal that's left in the cereal box into your cake mix or your muffin tray mix. It will disappear into the cake or the muffin and you won't waste any cereal. Tip 17. I have a list of all the presents and gifts that I have been given for birthdays and Christmas that I don't want, and the list also has the name of who gave them to me, so I can re-gift them to a different person and nobody will be upset. A bit sneaky, that one, isn't it? But sensible, really. If you don't want something, it's best to re-gift it onto somebody that might do. Tip 18. Use strips of pallets to make a fence. If you get enough free pallets, you can make a full fence. Tip 19. Cut up old tights, or nylons as you call them in some countries, to use as plant ties, hair bobbles, wire ties. You can even use old tops of nylons or tights to tuck your hair up and put it out of the way and use them as a shower cap. And tip number 2, talking of nylons or stockings, I thought this tip was incredible, that this particular person had actually fixed nylon stockings with human hair. She had very fine denier tights, stockings, and they've got a ladder in them. So she actually repaired it with human hair. Obviously, you'd need long hair, but yeah, how fantastic's that? Tip number 21. When my fridge gets a bit smelly, whether it's just cabbage that's gone off a bit, or it's just generally taken on the odours of the food, I just put a small dish or an egg cup full of bicarbonate of soda at the back of the fridge. Not only does it absorb all the nasty smells, it also absorbs any of the excess moisture. Tip number 22. I wash all my clothes inside out. So if I have a transfer on a t-shirt or some applique or some sequins or some buttons, they won't catch in the washing machine. They won't get worn down in the washing machine when bashing against each other's clothes, and it also protects them longer. Tip 23. Use hair conditioner to shave legs rather than expensive shaving foams or shaving oils. Tip 24. Somebody said they'd rather walk a mile from a free car parking space than pay for parking that was convenient right outside the shop or school or dentist or hospital where they wanted to be. Tip number 25. If you have a margarine or butter tub and there's got the very last remnants of the margarine and butter in there and you can't even scrape it out with a spoon or a knife, when you've got some hot peas or some hot carrots, pop them into the tub, shake it around with the lid on, and then the peas or carrots will be covered in all that last bit of butter and margarine and will taste wonderful. Tip number 26. Where I work, there's a coffee machine with lots of paper coffee cups, and people just have their cup of coffee and throw the coffee cup into the bin. I collect the coffee cups out of the bin, take them home and use them as seedling pots. They are perfect and break down wonderfully in the soil. Tip number 27. When I have a broken down old sponge which is no longer any good for cleaning pots, pans or the bathroom, I chop it up into small pieces and then save it to put in the bottom of my hanging baskets. And then when I put my plant in my hanging basket and I put the water through onto the plants, the water goes through onto the sponges at the bottom of the basket and can give the plant a drink a lot longer, as the sponge will retain the water rather than the water just running straight through the basket and onto the ground. Tip 28. My husband is a brand snob and wants me to buy all the expensive products in the shops. However, I have him quite easily fooled, and also a way to save us money. I keep all the expensive boxes and tins and caddies from the original product and just fill them up with cheaper generic brands. He hasn't noticed the difference. The only thing I dare do it with is cornflakes, because he does love his Kellogg cornflakes. Number 29. In our house we share baths. First it's the wife, then it's the children, and last of all it's me. I don't mind because I'm always covered in car oil, but it saves water by sharing the same bath water. And finally, tip number 30, which I thought was a little bit ingenious. My neighbour has a very similar house to mine because we live on a housing estate. We're also good friends. Every year we exchange each other's furnishings, from curtains, cushions to rugs, and we swap them over and have them for a year, so we have fresh furnishings and fresh decor without having to pay the price. Thank you for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video of 30 extreme frugal ideas and living tips. Thank you to my wonderful community and David's wonderful community. We love having you around. You're so sweet and kind and generous, and you put some lovely and amazing comments down, and we really do appreciate you watching our channel. So thank you very much for being there and continuing to support us. We hope to see you again very soon, and we hope you all have a really lovely weekend. Bye for now. Still feels really strange videoing myself.